Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yali Mother to all friends, and thank you for joining us this morning. We will continue on the Farmans of the Imams, Imam of the time, and our subtitle was Self-Reflection. It is amazing the tawfiq and the taheed of the Imam Zaman and the inspiration that we get when Imam is on your side. As yesterday, again this morning, I woke up with the audio short Farman of Shah Rahim from a friend in India, in which Imam says that I am the 49th Imam of the Adamic age. But remember, there will be Imam after me, and he may be the Imam of the science, or he used some other words reflecting on the future Imam. But then what he said after that Imam will always be present and what that means is that Allah is present always around you. Reflect on this, that Imams always be present. What that means is Allah is always present around you. Reflect on that part. Our lesson today will start from that. Inshallah. Ya Mulai Mehrban, Ya Mulai Mehrban, Ya Mulai Mehrban, Madad Farma, Ya Mulai Mehrban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma, Ya Mulai Mehrban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma. Ya Mullah, keep your Nurani hand on our shoulder, Mullah. Your love, your blessing, your mercy always be upon us, Mullah. Because without you, Mullah, we are nothing, we are nobody. We cannot do anything, Mullah. It is you who inspires us, who puts words on our tongue, who gives meaning to our talk. Ya Mullah Mehrban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma. Ya Mullah Mehrban, Madad Farma. Ya Mullah Mehrban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma. Shah Karim said, the knowledge is not for the sake of making money, but knowledge should help you understand the God's creation. Truly, learning and learning every day should be part of a moment's life, now and always. education is more important than ever before. Is it only a college degree, a skill set, or is this the ilm that will bring you closer and closer to the Nur of Ali? Is this education supposed to help you understand the purpose of your life? Are we born here for the sake of having fun, eat, and then die? Or do we have a higher purpose? This is what requires reflection, a self-reflection. Are we better off today than we were yesterday? Having money and having other things in the world, in our physical life, is not a bad thing, but for what purpose? Where does it stop and where does it end? What do we do with the resources, the skill sets, the knowledge, the money, the influence we have? Yesterday, all of you saw many leaders of Canada, including our own leaders, and then Imam Zaman, showed us what you can do when you have the right resource, and then on top of that, the right intention to do better by other people. And they were looking back, reflecting on 40 years of partnership, which began with Shah Karim, how it have changed. I'm sure all of you have watched that and may have some reflection, may have some thoughts. You may think, how can I help? Or what can I do in my own little capacity to make a difference in someone's life? I have a great example. When Imam take over a project, and you will see why we are talking about here in this subject in a minute. When Imam, the Nur, the Aklekul, when he takes on a project, when he guides, when he helps, then the result would be completely different than someone with Akle Garizi or a local or state or federal government runs a similar program. The generations, the project that Imam have taken over 40 years ago, for the low income, but the life with dignity, life with belonging, life with the care. Remember, in America and other countries, they also have a projects. Have you ever seen a project? Look at the projects around in America, and I'm sure there are some in Canada and some European countries, and even in Asian countries like Pakistan and India. Those that are run by the government is a total disaster. There is no dignity in living there. There is no self-reliance, nor belonging, no respect. Whereas someone living under the Imams project, under generations, how they are living with such a pride, where multi-generation can come together and they can learn from each other. This is a part that was connected to our subject. The multi-generation can come together and they can learn from each other. So there were few interviews from young and old, and this young man was talking about how he volunteers there and learn amazing thing from the elders living in that project. Whereas the elder was saying how energetic these young volunteers are, that we feel alive and young, because they make us feel young. And how they can learn from each other. They can learn history from the elders, and elders can learn the technology from the young. It is amazing how this learning take place, where we thought it was just a living situation where the lonely does not live in isolation, but around other. And I'm going to just say this, which is not true for Imam's project. A lonely live alone in a project, but not in these generations. They were lonely, but they do not live alone anymore. They are living amongst the people that care for each other, and they can learn from each other. That's the difference between Imam's projects, and when Imam of the time guides, then the result will be just perfect, amazing. We have seen those projects in Pakistan, in Karachi, in Karimabad especially, how Imam Sultan Mohammed Shah started to coach and presented a view how Prince Ali Khan went, researched, and acquired that land and those buildings in Karimabad. Those of you who are familiar with that know exactly what I'm talking about. And then how Shah Karim bought and settled Ismailis from the slums in that colony. Not only he gave them homes, but also put a market outside where Ismailis can do business, put bank outside, put school outside, a clinic outside, a community with opportunity. If we reflect on Imam's work and Imam's Farman, we will learn and learn and learn and keep learning. And if we are able to react and reflect, and if we can adapt, then our lives will change forever. Understanding a spiritual journey begins with knowledge. So I wanted to take a right turn. We talked about the projects, we talked about the physical life, helping each other. What about spiritual knowledge? Are we reflecting on that part? Is Imam here so he can build schools and roads and colonies and buildings and factories? Or is Imam here for the salvation of our soul? Should not our knowledge, our ilm, reflect what is permanent and more important, and that is our soul? So understanding a spiritual journey begins with knowledge. Having the right ilm will help you get to that part which is important. A human being's spiritual journey begins with knowledge. One asks questions, read books, reflects deeply, and acquires wisdom. So before I read the next line, which is a punchline, let's look at this one more time. What is first thing that you see? Ask questions. If you do not know, if you do not understand, ask questions. And then to get the answer, if you do not get it verbally, then go back and read the books, read the Faramin, read the Kinans. Read something to find your answer. Do some research. There are more ilm knowledge available on our tariqah today than ever before. In our history, there were times where there would be few books available, a handful of books. Whereas today, there would be enough books for you to fill a library. Find those books which are relevant to your spiritual progress to help you on that journey. Because after all, building a home or a building is not the purpose. Building a spiritual kingdom is the purpose. And Imam again and again have talked about keeping a balance. So even when we are talking about a general things, we are talking about spiritual things along with it. Because every farman would have two sides to it. If we can help each other learning, let's say, computer, can we not help each other with dua meaning, understanding of our tariqah? Can we not read the Faramin together? Can we not do the zikr together? Can we not get together in Jamaat Khana to pray together? One asks questions, read books, reflects deeply. So the third part, reflects deeply and acquires wisdom. What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? All of you must have heard this from Shah Karim. There is too much knowledge. It's like a flood of information. And with that information, there is very little knowledge. And within that knowledge, there is very little true knowledge of the Imam Zaman. And within that, wisdom is like a pearl of intellect, just a little. It's not an ocean full or big as mountain, but like a small cave inside the mountain. That's the wisdom. So you acquire wisdom within the ilm. Now the punchline. Yet, all of this is merely the beginning. You have listened to the ilm, you have asked your question, you have read the books, you have reflected on it, and you have acquired the wisdom. Look at the punchline. Yet, all of this is merely the beginning. So before I read the further, ilm is such that is like a food for the body, must be eaten, taken, acquired daily. Otherwise, your spiritual health will be weak and you will not be able to perform spiritually. Just like if you don't eat nutritious food, your body will not perform fully. Ilm must be taken like a medicine, like a vitamin, like a daily food. Otherwise, listening to this once a week and then forgetting about it. By next week, we will not even remember what we have talked about it last week. Because every week is built on the previous week. The purpose of knowledge is not to amass information. The purpose of knowledge is not to amass information, but to cultivate an inner insight that leads one to perceive reality. But to cultivate an inner insight, enlightenment, that leads one to perceive reality. When reality descends not merely into the mind, but into the soul. So just listening, reading and remembering everything. No, it must sink into your soul. You know, this is what Sultan Mohammed Shah, our 40th Imam, have said about the Farman. The Farman must take place in your heart, not listening from one ear and out from the other. It must enlighten you. It must take place in your soul. What begins to lose their significance? If you just trying to listen, remember our tariqah, our religion is not the religion of rote, but of the intellect. And our logic and intellect says it must touches our soul. That's the purpose of the ilm, taking or giving, must be. Now, what I just said about Shah Karim, Let's listen. Okay, by the way, there was a Silver Jubilee Farman, which I was paraphrasing. You can go and find it. It's available everywhere. You can go and read or listen to that. What Imam says about having Imam all the time is like, what it means is having the Allah around you. So reflect on that part. All right. So now let's say what Shah Rahim is saying regarding that matter. This is just yesterday or day before now in Calgary. I'm going to read the bottom part first. Those who reflect will understand the meaning of my words. So let's see if you are listening, if you are reflecting, and if you are understanding. Because those who reflect will understand the meaning of my words, says Shah Rahim, Imam of the time. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. My dear Jamaat, I will now leave you physically, but remember that I never leave you. I'm here physically with you now, and I am still with you after I leave this room. I am always with you, every second of every minute of every day. Always. I never leave you. Before I read the punchline, Allah says, you will find me wherever you will turn. I am always present with you. I'm closer to you than your nerves, your jugular vein. I am Alayul Qayyum, ever living, ever present. I am the Awwal and Akhir. I am the Zahir and Batin. Those are the words in the Quran. Here Imam is saying, I'm always with you every second of every minute of every day. Always, I never leave you. Those who reflect will understand the meaning of my words. So did you understand what Imam is saying to you? Remember, Imam speaks in 7 vowels. इमाम आपसे 7 पर्दों के अंदर कलाम करता है. If you are reflecting, if you are understanding, then you will understand the meaning of the words of the Imam. Learning about your tariqah. Your spiritual lives are strengthened when you have an intellectual engagement with your faith. As we were talking about it yesterday, just merely following the Shariat of our tariqah without using our logic and engaging our intellect does nothing. Matter of fact, 48th Imam have talked about that. It's like a parrot mimicking a monkey copying. No, we are the tariqah of logic and intellect. We just don't do things just because our parents told us to do, or because we see someone doing it in Jamaat Khana. I remember talking to someone during our Q&A session a while back that I started to do so and so thing. And I said, where did you learn that from? Because I have never heard of it. And she said, well, I saw somebody doing it and I thought it looked pretty good. So I started doing it. I said, did you ask why he or she was doing that before you started to mimic and copying? She said, no, I thought it was pretty good. It looked pretty good. So I started doing it. Mimicking and copying is not our tariqah. Our tariqah is of logic and intellect. And your spiritual lives are strengthened when you have an intellectual engagement with your faith, not just copying and doing things without understanding. That is not our tariqah. To help you increase your understanding, you have access to excellent educational materials on our faith and history. We started with this. Today, more than ever, look at it. We are sitting in our home having this lesson. When in our history, in our lifetime, the knowledge, ilm came to your home, there is more ilm available today than ever before. More books on our tariqah, more lectures on our tariqah, more understanding of the Ginan, of the Farman, of the Quran, or our rites and rituals are available today. If I'm not counting totally, but I can estimate, and I would guarantee you, if you start to listen to all the recorded lectures of just since COVID 2020, you will not be able to finish within your lifetime. And I don't care how old you are. There are enough lectures available, recorded, that you will not be able to finish within your lifetime. On our tariqah, on our rites and ritual, on the understanding of dua, on the understanding of farman, that you will not be able to finish. So Imam is telling you, you have access to excellent educational material on our faith and history. Learn about your tariqah. So now is a command, is a farman. We cannot say, it's okay, my parents followed, so I'm going to follow. What is there to learn? I already know my dua. I offer my dua. I know where Jamaat Khana is. I know who Mukhi Kamriya are. I know my tasbih. What else is there to learn? Well, Imam does not agree with you. Imam is saying there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn. Learn about your tariqah. That's a command. That's a farman now. As a murid, are we supposed to follow the farman of the Imam Zaman? Learn about your tariqah. Don't just follow and mimic and copy. What do you know about your rites and ritual? What do you know about your dua? What do you know about your Imam? Remember, the fundamental principle of our tariqah is to recognize the Imam of the time. And Shah Karim says, perhaps, gosh, my Jamaat would recognize me. Then he repeated, perhaps, gosh, my Jamaat would recognize the Imam of the time. With so much sadness that my Jamaat do not understand, recognize the Imam of the time. Learn about your tariqah. And remember, your tariqah is of the batin. What is written is for everyone. But the batin is for us and us only. Learn about your tariqah, your culture, and community history from our literature and also from the elders in the Jamaat. Because they have a treasure box full of ilm. You can learn from it. Doesn't matter how old we are, we can always learn. This will help you to be clear and confident about your identity. If you are able and willing to adapt, your success will come from being able to anticipate and manage that change well. I do not want my Jamaat to stagnate. If you keep learning so that you are able and willing to adapt, and if you stay within the ethics of the faith, then this will support your endeavors today and into the future. If you keep learning, that's the condition. If you keep learning so that you are able and willing to adapt. Share what you learn. So not only you have to learn, Imam is saying share what you have learned. You cannot just take and not give. You are at a stage in your life where your horizons are expanding rapidly. Share what you learn with your brothers and sisters and open doors for each other. Be generous with your knowledge. I think this part says it all. Those who do not want to learn and those who have learned it do not want to share. I think this one short half line says it all. Be generous with your knowledge. Give to your brother and sister, your family, your friends, your Jamaat, your elders, your youngers. Whomever is willing to listen, share your knowledge. You can create a powerful, positive network of support which can sustain you throughout your life. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. My final thought comes from the Kinya Farman of the Shah Rahim Hazar Imam last year in August 2025. And with that, I will stop. The fundamental principles and values of our faith have not changed. We learn them from the Quran, from the example of Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, and from the Farmans of the Imams. treating people with respect, dignity, and kindness, helping those in need, supporting and caring for one another. These are amongst the principles of our faith. They are universal for all time. This is important. It's not just today or yesterday, it's universal for all time. When you cannot join in prayers with the Jamaat, pause for prayer, contemplation, and reflection whenever you have an opportunity. Continuing to learn about our tariqah of Islam. Continuing to learn about our tariqah of Islam will make the practice of your faith a richer experience, and engaging with your cultural and community history will help you to be clear and confident about your identities. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Thank you so much for listening, and Ya Ali Madad.